Good evening, Washington Courthouse. It is 7:30 PM on July 12, 2023. Time for our first regular meeting of this month. At this time, Mr. Johnson has the invocation, which I forgot to remind you of, Caleb, I'm sorry. And Mr. Hawk has the pledge. So, if you're ready.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I usually remind you.
That's all right. Please bow your heads. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for those in our community gathered here today and watching from home. Thank you also for the opportunity to do good work in this city. And as we strive to do good work, I would ask that you give us the courage, the wisdom, and the empathy needed to do such a good job on your behalf for the citizens in the community. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Caleb.
Please join me. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, guys. Okay, roll call.
Blair,
Here.
Chrisman,
Here.
Hawk,
Here.
Hernandez.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Lynch.
Here. We need to excuse.
I'll make a motion to excuse Steve Schultz.
Second.
Roll call.
Blair,
Yes.
Chrisman,
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes. The minutes of our last meeting, which was June 28, 2023. Did anybody see anything that needed to be changed, added, subtracted?
Yes, Mr. Kerrigan's name is spelled with an A instead of an O.
Okay.
In the minutes, it's Corrigan.
Okay, I maybe said Corrigan, I don't know.
Kerrigan.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Anything else? Somebody want to make a motion to accept?
With that change, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Second.
Roll call.
Blair,
Yes.
Chrisman,
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes. Any communication, Mr. Dale?
None.
We have two council committees. Steve ran that meeting, but he's not here, so Kendra, I'm just gonna have you go ahead and read,
Yeah.
if you will, the economic strategies and cooperation meeting.
Sure will. The Economic Strategies and Cooperation Committee met in the City Council chambers of 105 North Main Street on Wednesday, June 28, 2023 at 5 p.m. Mr. Steve Schultz presided, and those in attendance were Mr. Caleb Johnson, council member, Mr. Jim Chrisman, council member, Mr. Ted Hawk, council member, Mr. Jim Blair, council member, Mr. Dale Lynch, council chairperson, Mr. Jody Langley, assistant fire chief, Mrs. Chelsea Baker, economic development director, Mr. Mark Pitstick, city attorney, and Mr. Joseph Denon, city manager. Number one, the committee reviewed progress with the industrial development. The committee noted that there were 46 open projects. Number two, the committee noted that interviews have been conducted for Mr. Abalala, I never can pronounce that right, Godwin, position with the OSU Extension Office. Number three, the committee noted the status of various development projects within the downtown area. The administration advised the committee that a new business plaque had been presented to Kitty's Cafe. Number four, the committee benefited from a review regarding downtown events. The administration advised the committee of the Farm to Fork event that would be held on July 8th on South Main Street. Number five, the committee noted that discussions had begun regarding the possibility of a revitalization district within the downtown area. Number six, the committee reviewed progress with the commercial development. The administration advised the committee that inquiries had been made regarding the future use of the old Southern State Building. Number seven, Mrs. Baker noted that she had attended business events and board meetings in recent weeks. Mrs. Baker noted the progress with the Fayette Adena Hospital expansion project. Number 8, Mrs. Baker expressed her excitement with the progress of the Washington Auditorium renovation. Number 9, the committee noted the new location of the Humane Society on Commercial Drive. And number 10, the committee benefited from review of trail connections. The committee reviewed options presented for the trail along the Patterson property section. The committee elected a trail route along the railroad side of the property. For some reason, it didn't seem right. Respectfully submitted, Mr.
Steve Schultz.
Steve Schultz.
He's vice
Very
chair.
confused.
Yeah.
Vice Chair, and Ms. Kelly Ford, Recording Secretary.
Thank you, Kendra.
Sorry.
That's okay. It's okay.
Say it again. Apollo.
Polio.
Yeah, I always said.
Say it again.
I believe it's a polio.
Apollyon, I think it's
Apollio.
Apollyon.
Apollio.
But
I never said it like
Godwin is
that.
what everybody says.
Godwin never got mad at me, so.
No, you wouldn't.
He just
Okay,
smiled.
other than that change at the end, is there any other things, any questions? Does someone want to make a motion to accept?
Well, am I allowed to make the motion since I read it?
I'll go ahead and move.
Yeah, it's
second it.
better if the person who chairs it. Okay, Ted and Jim Blair. Kelly, if you heard that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, roll call.
Blair.
Yes.
Chrisman.
Yes.
Hawk.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes. And we have finance and personnel. Mr.
Thank you,
Blair.
Mr. Chairman. Finance and Personnel meeting held June 28th, 2023 at 6 p.m. Mr. Jim Blair presided, and those in attendance were Mr. Jim Chrisman, council member, Mr. Steve Schultz, council member, Mr. Ted Hawk, council member, Ms. Kendra Hernandez, council member, Mr. Caleb Johnson, council member, Mr. Dale Lynch, council chairperson, Mrs. Christina Collins, finance director, Mr. Joseph Denon, city manager, and Mr. Mark Pitstick, city attorney, Mr. Jody Langley, assistant fire chief, Mr. Sean Remington, and other members representing the Triangle Trail Committee. Number one, the committee benefited from a report of the statement of cash for the month ending on May 30th, 2023. Mrs. Collins noted that the reconciliation with local government services had been completed. Mrs. Collins continued and advised that an extension had been granted for the gap conversion filing through July. Number two, the committee benefited from a report on the investments of the City of Washington Courthouse. Number three, the committee recommended that legislation be brought to council to enter into agreement with Fayette County for public defender services. Number four, the committee benefited from a report on personnel issues given by Mr. Denon. The administration advised that interviews had begun for the open tax department position. Number five, the committee noted that Mr. Lane Lytle, Mr. Marcus Zugler, and Mr. Cedric Pettiford had been hired for the open patrol positions at the police department. Number six, the administration noted a disciplinary action was taken within the wastewater treatment plant. Number seven, the administration noted that the Court Street project would begin the week of July the 4th. The administration advised full depth repair would be completed to Court Street. The committee noted that the investment in additional work on Court Street would help maintain the road longer than normal paving work. The committee recommended proceeding with the additional work at a cost not to exceed $190,314. The committee recommended that Roth IRAs be offered to city employees. Number nine, the committee recommended that legislation be brought to council recommending that Mr. John Pfeiffer be reappointed to the Historic District Review Board and City Planning Commission. Number 10, the committee recommended that legislation be brought to council recommending Mr. Scott Snyder reappointment to the Historic District Review Board and the City Planning Commission. The committee recommended the legislation be brought to council recommending Mr. Dane Blamer reappointment to the Historic District Review Board. Number 12, the committee benefited from a general report of the Human Resource Department. And last, number 13, the committee benefited from a report of the McNair's Men's Mission Homeless Shelter and noted that a purchase agreement had been signed. The administration advised the committee and Mr. Pitstick would be helping with the establishment of a nonprofit board for the shelter. The committee recommended that the administration proceed with payment not to exceed $30,000. And the committee noted that the shelter would be in operation this fall. Respectfully submitted, Mr. Jim Blair, chairperson, Mrs. Kelly Ford, recording secretary.
Thanks, Jim. Any questions, comments?
I think on, in addition to the item on number 6, noting a disciplinary action in the wastewater treatment plant, wasn't there also a report in that committee that a disciplinary action was taken in the police department as well that day?
I think there was.
Yes.
There was. I can't remember if that was on the report before that one.
I
That
think
would have been
I'm
on
thinking it
the
was the same day.
service
It was the
safety.
same day, okay.
I'm
Mhm.
thinking it was, but
Yeah, good question. I think it was. We can add that. Okay, with that addition, does
I'll make a
somebody-
motion.
Okay.
Second.
Roll call.
Ye-
Blair,
Yes.
Chrisman,
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes. Mr. Denon, you are up to bat.
Thank you, and a little bit of a rerun from what we talked about in committee, Court Street. What you've seen done out there is what we call full depth repair, which is just a complicated way to say that we identified the portions of the street that we thought had issues that just regular resurfacing weren't gonna fix. So you grind those out much deeper than you just do for resurfacing, because resurfacing is typically 1.5 to 2 inches. In this case, you've gone down, well, in front of, back in time, you would have actually taken out some of the old brick street that was underneath. You compact that and then you fill that up with asphalt, so that then on the 24th, you'll plane the entire street. In other words, we'll grind it down a little bit, and then you'll put a finished course of asphalt on top of that so that you have a nice smooth surface that will last hopefully a very long time. The paving that commences on the 24th probably takes about 5 days. The 24th could be affected, start date by weather, of course. But to limit inconvenience, the street will close at 7 in the evening and open up at 7 in the morning. So they will do that work at night. And that's a cooperative project with ODOT. And then you'll also eventually see us improve the rail crossing across Court Street in cooperation with the railroad. And then eventually all of that gets plastic street markings, which look exactly like the painted ones, except they're easier to see, quite honestly, and they just last tremendously longer. And that's the markings on the street. We're not talking about the painted curb, but the actual stuff that you adhere to the asphalt. And those plastic street markings, you basically melt them on there. So they are enormously resistant to weather and wear. But that will, pretty soon you're cruising into completing the whole project there. We know that this type of work is inconvenient to folks, and we apologize for that. But in the end, you get a very durable product that ought to last a very long time. I handed out a couple of graphs for you. And one, I want to apologize. Why I was trying to do this today is the point where everybody decided to stop in and see Joe and call him on the telephone. So every time it says July 1, 2023 estimate, that should be July 1, 2022 estimate, okay? And this is some stuff from the census. I will do the full one that I normally do in September. But I pulled out some interesting things because they've updated some information. The first graph you have is be residents of the community under 5 years of age. And you have Chillicothe, Washington Courthouse, Circleville, Wilmington, and Hillsborough there. And that is showing that currently about 7% of the population is under the age of 5. That compares well with the other communities in that group. Is kind of average. It did decline a little bit from the prior year's estimate. We went from 8% to 7%, and in the census itself, the actual census, you had 7.4. What's particularly interesting, if you go the next one, under 18 years of age, again, it's the July with an extra L, 2022 estimate. I did get that one changed for you. Where Washington Courthouse is notable that almost 26% of the population is under the age of 18, which is significantly different than the other communities that I've picked out and talked to you about consistently over time in our area. Now, the one thing that I didn't do for you that I will do in September is a reminder. Hillsborough is much, much smaller. Wilmington and Circleville are slightly smaller than Washington Courthouse, but much closer. And Chillicothe is an order of magnitude different. And I also do that by county for you to remind you that Ross County is geographically, physically much larger, and it has a whole lot more people. So there are some significant differences to the way that those communities are situated and the counties that they find themselves in. But it is interesting that nearly more than a quarter of the population is under the age of 18, according to the July 1, 2022 estimate, which is significantly different than the other communities. Percent of population 65 years and over, Washington Courthouse is on the lower end. The highest one you have is Hillsborough, at nearly a quarter of the population being over 65 years or older, and Washington Courthouse at 16.6%. Which sometimes I think everybody thinks of the community that they live in as, you know, it's all older people, and that's definitely not the case here. But you do tend to think about it that way. What's incredibly interesting is the next per capita income. And this would be the July 1, again, 2022 estimate, where you have 31,000. No, I'm sorry. I need to move along on the new chart. No, that is the new chart. For Chillicothe, followed by Washington Courthouse at 25, and then Circleville below, and then it would be Wilmington at 24.4, followed by Circleville at 23.9, and Hillsborough at $20,000. Over the past couple of years, we significantly moved up the list there, which has been very nice. Owner-occupied housing rate. Occasionally you hear the argument that everybody in community XYZ, that they're all renters and none of them are property owners. In Washington Courthouse, that is 54, slightly more than 54% are owner-occupied housing, which the exception of Chillicothe is the highest owner-occupied housing rate amongst those selected communities. Those were just some of the interesting things that I pulled out, and again, I'll do this in September in a little bit more detail, and we'll look at a lot of other factors and issues there. But this round of updates I found particularly interesting. Now, in new legislation, you've got some issues for tonight. Ordinance 6 just sets up an accounting fund that lets Christina accept donations for trail development like we talked at the last committee. Then you got the public defender agreement. Then you've got your board appointments, resolutions 28, 29, and 30. And 31 is also an additional board appointment. And we thank those people for their service and their willing and dedication to the cause. And when I do the September deal, I'll fix my little errors there so that doesn't confuse anybody. But I've gotten so used to 23 that putting 22 down again was kind of a challenge for me. But that is my report for this evening. Is there any questions?
Good idea doing Court Street overnight.
Would really like to thank ODOT District 6 for being willing to do that and work with us.
Good idea. Very nice.
Some people got stirred up because they think that that full depth repair that we're done, and you know, there's quite a bit more work to do.
Yeah.
But that is just to get a durable, long-lasting project. You could have just simply done the regular resurfacing, and you might have had it will look decent for 2 or 3 years, but then you'd be very close to where you're at now, very quickly.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Mr. Dennis. Finance Director's not here, but the city attorney is. Do you have a report?
Well, I don't have a report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Local residents and taxpayers, I have one person who has signed up. I've never seen her before, but she says her name is Della. So Della, seriously, you know the routine. Come on down. The price is right.
My name is Della Key, and I live at 1311 Farmington Lane. Thank you all for letting me speak tonight. I come with some questions on things. I was talking to a neighbor on Farmington, and they had mentioned that when people turn from 41 onto Farmington, that they fly in there, and we all know that probably all of us have done that are coming up into Farmington Lane. But they have kind of a hidden driveway, and is there a way that we could put a hidden driveway sign up by their place? I'm curious.
Question for Mr. Dennis.
Is that, yeah, so we could work on that or
Yeah.
something? It's when you turn onto Farmington, it's the first house on the right. The gentleman is handicapped.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I don't know them, but I have talked with them, and they mentioned that, and I hadn't even thought about that. So I thought, I said, well, I go to city council, so I will ask for you. You know, I will ask for everybody, because I think it's important. I didn't realize how restricted I see all the trees there, but I didn't realize how restricted they were, so.
It would be, Della, it'd be really fast, because when you turn, it's right there.
It is, it's
So when
absolutely.
you put a sign, I'm not sure the sign,
Are we talking where Ransons used to live?
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
well, right on the corner, all right?
No,
First house, I
First house
think.
when you turn, I know.
Yeah,
Because I've
it's a
seen them
brown
out
brick.
The
there.
gentleman has an electric
Yes, he
wheelchair.
does, yeah. And
That's where
actually,
Lyle used to live. Yeah, okay, I know where we're talking
But
about.
the
Yeah.
point, my point is, when you turn, you'd have to have the sign so quick, you'd almost be by the house before you saw the sign. But
yeah, that's a good point. I don't know,
I know what you're saying. It is
yeah,
kinda
yeah,
hidden.
I didn't realize it, and I'm probably one of those people that flew in from 41 onto third,
Well, you
you
can look
know,
at it.
onto Farmington.
I'm
We
sure if you
can
put
figure
it
it
near
out.
the trees, like that area right there to the side, I bet you that would help.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure you could do it, but.
And if
Yeah.
it's bright
pretty
in
quick.
color,
Yeah, maybe,
because I think they're usually yellow, aren't they?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that'll stand out. But I know what you're talking about, because I whipped around and he scared me, because he was
Yeah.
right there, you know?
yeah, and he sits out, I mean, he travels in that wheelchair.
Right.
Quite a bit, and I never realized that, and in talking
He
to
also
Jenny.
sits out in the grass,
Yes,
close to 41.
yes, you're right, you're absolutely right, yeah.
But
Yeah, it's a nice, the trees are a nice barrier, but at the same time, and I gather they didn't plant them, so I don't know how long they've lived there or anything like that, but that was something that, had been brought to my attention. And the other, thing that I want to discuss was Iman Park a little bit. Jerry and I don't go to Iman Park unless there's somebody having a picnic or something there, some gathering there. I happened to be there yesterday afternoon for a picnic, for Head Start, for recruiting and helping grill hot dogs. And we had to not grill hot dogs because, we couldn't get them cooked because the tray couldn't be moved because it was rusted out. The bottom of the tray was rusted out, and we couldn't move it up because all the coals were down in the bottom, and it wasn't getting up, and the grill part is very high. And I looked around, I didn't walk around, but I looked around, and that was the only grill I saw. Is there only one grill there in that area? It's by the shelter, it's by.
By the shelter house.
Yeah, it's by the shelter.
Maybe.
Honestly, I don't go there very
No.
often, so I don't know, but
Tell you off the top of my head.
I'm thinking, I can't remember either, cause
I
I
had
walked
to
over
end
there,
up
but I'm
going
not
home
looking
getting
for a
the
girl.
crock pot. And of course, it said Michigan on it, you know?
We'd have to check that. too.
Yeah, I don't think that's allowed in Iman Park.
I bet it's not.
I think there's a sign, I'm serious.
If
I'm
there's
just
not,
kidding.
there probably should be. You know, maybe there should be, but yeah, I did a little damage there with that. So anyway, yeah, but, so that was and I was trying to help them grill and we couldn't, so I ended up going home getting the crock pot, but, yeah. I did have other crock pots, I just thought I would aggravate them all with that one. So anyway, and then, the other, what did he say?
That was
I said it'd be appropriate if it was full of weenies, right?
Well, and you know what, but I was burning them in Ohio, you know? Yeah, so, okay, I'll take that. We've got broad shoulders, I'll take that.
Somebody has to fill Steve's
That was
position.
good. And the other thing is have you all sat in the shelter and ever, you don't even have to look up. It's kind of looks like it's coming down on you. It's, peeling horribly. And I don't know if
Excuse
anything
me.
can be done.
We had a council meeting in there one time.
Oh, you did? Did you guys eat food there? Cause
Those days
it
are
could
like
easily
just
come down in the
condescending to go in there
food.
and having a meeting.
You had a meeting there. So how often do you guys go there? Like I said, honestly, I hadn't been there in a
I
really
haven't been
long
in that
time.
one, I've been in the back one with the stone,
Oh, yeah, no, I hadn't
so,
been,
but,
yeah.
Well,
are we,
That,
Is part
when they get done with street painting, that's on services list of, power washing that, and trying to get some of that flaking paint off and do a little bit of work down there.
Honestly, as looking at it, I thought if they could just power wash it and not repaint it, it's metal, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's metal, so they wouldn't really even need to, unless they painted it to keep the heat down or something. I didn't know why they painted it, but I thought it did look like a health hazard, actually. It looked unhealthy. So, so that's what I came to talk about.
thank you,
Okay, thank you all.
appreciate it.
yeah.
Ron Sawkins' group doesn't have anything to do anyway, so. No, those are good things. I appreciate it. Okay, we have no legislation previously introduced, but we do have new legislation, starting with ordinance number 6, 2023, first reading.
I'll make a motion to put ordinance number 6, 2023 on first reading.
Second?
Discussion. Roll call.
Blair,
Yes.
Chrisman,
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.
Ordinance number 6-2023, an ordinance authorizing and directing Christina Collins to create accounting funds.
Resolution number R27, 2023, first reading.
I'll make a motion to put resolution number R27, 2023 on first reading.
Second.
You're gonna second this, okay, Ted, good for you.
Just so I can say so.
Oh, okay, all right, discussion.
I still think those people ought to be thankful to the taxpayers for providing free counsel when they're in trouble. And they ought to send us a thank you card that we could post somewhere.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Blair,
Yes.
Chrisman,
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Johnson,
Abstain.
Lynch.
Yes.
Resolution number R27-2023, a resolution authorizing Joseph J. Denon, City Manager of the City of Washington Courthouse, to enter into an agreement with the Fayette County Commissioners for the provision of public defender services.
Resolution number R28, 2023, first reading.
I'll make a motion for resolution number R 28, 2023 as the first reading.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Blair.
Yes.
Chrisman.
Yes.
Hawk.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.
Resolution number R 28-2023, a resolution confirming Joseph J. Denon, City Manager of the City of Washington Courthouse, reappointment of John Piper to the City Planning Commission of the City of Washington Courthouse for the term concluding on December 31st, 2027.
Resolution number R 29, 2023, first reading.
I'll make a motion for resolution number R 29, 2023 first reading.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Blair.
Yes.
Chrisman.
Yes.
Hawk.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.
Resolution number R 29-2023, a resolution confirming Joseph J. Denon, City Manager of the City of Washington Courthouse, reappointment of Mr. John Piper to the Historic District Review Board of the City of Washington Courthouse for a term concluding December 31st, 2027.
Resolution number R 30, 2023, first reading.
I move that we place resolution number R 30, 2023 on first reading.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Blair.
Yes.
Chrisman.
Yes.
Hawk.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.
Resolution number R 30-2023, a resolution confirming Joseph J. Denon, City Manager of the City of Washington Courthouse, reappointment of Mr. Scott Snyder to the Historic District Review Board of the City of Washington Courthouse for a term concluding December 31st, 2027.
And resolution number R 31, 2023, first reading.
I move that we place resolution number R 31, 2023 on first reading.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call?
Blair.
Yes.
Chrisman.
Yes.
Hawk.
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.
Resolution number R 31-2023, a resolution confirming Joseph J. Denon, City Manager of the City of Washington Courthouse, reappointment of Scott Snyder to the City Planning Commission of the City of Washington Courthouse for the term concluding on December 31st, 2027.
Thank you, Kelly. Miscellaneous. Mr. Blair, what do you have that's miscellaneous?
Okay, well, this week in my readings, I was reading some quotes by Winston Churchill. And you may have heard this, but I think it bears repeating. And Mr. Churchill's quotation says, "When you're 20, you care what everyone thinks. When you're 40, you stop caring what everyone thinks. When you're 60, you realize no one was ever thinking about you in the first place. You have enemies? Good. That means you've stood up for something sometime in your life." And that is my quotation for the night.
Thank you, Winston. Mr. Hawk, what do you have?
Well, I tried to give the city $7 one time as a contribution, and I was told you couldn't do such a thing, because there wasn't a fund for it. And so I thought, well, let's make a fund, and at that time, I didn't get anywhere with that, but this first ordinance that we did tonight, that's kind of refreshing to see that happening. We established a fund so we could donate money to it. So,
Okay. Get your $7 out.
it was, yeah, it was, well, that wasn't what I was gonna give the 7 for, so, I mean, but it's to do with, the trails, so.
Yes, it is.
So we can now donate to that, but
Well, I was,
it's kind of a new thing here.
I was gonna ask what was this, but I won't. I'll get
I don't remember.
too deep here. Mr. Cressman, what do you have?
I'd just like to thank everybody for coming and glad you're here. Hope you come back. Like I said last time, get all your friends and neighbors here. Pack it up. Or may get Channel 6 down here or something. Oh, by the way, you could have donated to the dog park thing. That was open a few years ago. Right, Taylor?
Yeah,
That's
pull out
true.
your wallet for that one, Ted.
Depends on how long ago that was.
That went over my head. I don't know.
Depends on how long ago it was. Anyway.
Yeah, okay, I retract my statement.
No.
Kendra, what have you got?
Fayette County Fair's next week, so I want to see everyone's faces out there supporting the 4-H'ers and all the vendors, local and away. It's a good time. It's a small town. I love it. I get tired of it. I'm ready for it to be over with, but and those who have 5 projects, Lord have mercy, their parents are like amazing to be able to do that. But and then last, I won't be here the next meeting, so I think I'm gonna barely get this in, and so I wanna put a plug in. It's the Battle of the Bands, which is August 11th, and so it's 3 counties that are involved. Stephanie with Travel and Tourism has worked very hard on that with the other group of folks from all the different counties. And then the downtown is doing a fun scavenger hunt that is related to trivia about the bands. And that's called Shoppin' and Rockin'. So we should have a lot of people coming into our community because of the different counties all involved. But I would love to see Fayette County like represented well. And I'm excited to hear the bands. So, I mean, it's live entertainment and it's free.
Where are they playing?
They're gonna, same place as the Scarecrow Festival, so down the hill on Main Street, there'll be a stage there. I don't know, I'm excited, so I would love to see Fayette County show up for that.
They don't have any bluegrass.
No.
Bluegrass.
You can ask Stephanie for next time, but I don't know. August 11th, again, so it's a Friday evening.
Very good. Mr. Johnson?
Well, one thing is I'm looking at these charts here. I notice, of course, Joe did a very good job recapping. Under 5 years of age is going down. Percentage of our population over 65 years is going down. And one very plausible explanation for that is that people between those ages are moving here. And we are increasing our population in the middle, which I think is very promising. That usually is a sign that our economy is good enough to attract people who might be switching jobs or maybe even switching careers, finding a better community to raise families in. And that last thing, raising your family in, we do have increased population under 18 years of age, meaning that maybe some people are having kids outside of Washington Courthouse and then they realize, hey, if I can move there for the sake of my family, maybe we can move the whole family there as well. So I think all of this is a very good sign, and I just want to bring that up, maybe to explain the chart a little bit. So thank you.
Very good. I agree with you. I have no, other than I'm not gonna be here the next meeting either. We're gonna travel to the Carolinas, not together, but we're going to.
You're going south and I'm going north.
So Caleb, you're gonna be here, correct?
Yes.
And you 3 are going to be here, correct? So I've already told Steve, of course, you never know, he had a problem come up with a family health issue, so you never know, but that we'll have a quorum if there's 5 of you, so that's good. Okay, we need a adjournment motion.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Blair,
Yes.
Chrisman,
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
Hernandez.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes, we are adjourned at 8:09 or whatever it says.